The core invitation I offer to you is this: be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you think you are and what God is, all concepts you've learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything you think is either true or false, good or bad, of everything you judge worthy or unworthy. Empty your heart of all shame. Hold on to nothing. Do not cling to any belief you learned before about anything. Just open here, right now, wherever you are, and come with wholly empty hands unto God. This is the invitation that's really at the heart of all authentic spiritual practice, and even of life itself in the end. Will you relax the control, the trying to direct your life? Will you be receptive to a grace deeper than your mind? Grace is the palpable presence of divine love, the fullness of the ground of being that is joy, that is peace, that is compassion, that is beauty, that is intelligence, and so much more. It is what we so often chase after in the living of our daily life. Grace is both the depth of your heart, the cause of your being, and the agency of transformation that awakens you, and it's more accessible than perhaps you might have thought. Ramana Maharshi said that grace is always present. He said that you imagine it somewhere high in the sky as if it has to descend, but really grace lives in your heart. He said when you merge the mind with its source, grace rushes forth as if a spring from within you. Letting the mind drop into the heart is really what surrender is all about. But yet surrender is not something our ego can do. And so this is often the paradox of the spiritual path. What we can do and what we need to do is to bring the habits of defense, control, grasping, rejecting, the fears, the identifications that we've all formed into the light of awareness, and then practice doing nothing to fix or change or repress, which is really what surrender amounts to. And as we're present and undefended and still, not hiding anything, grace can transform us and open our consciousness. We find ourselves able to let go, and we're deepened and seasoned to the next level of the mystery. Our subtle arrogance starts melting, and we find fresh awareness that brings the insight that we truly need to deepen and to thrive. Yet there is a melting that needs to happen, and so there are different ways we can approach this. I like to think of the melting of our dense ego structure a little bit as if we had a hard chunk of ice that needed to be dissolved. So we could hack away at that lump of ice, the hardness of our defenses, the fixed positions and assumptions, the reactive patterns of control. We could hack away at that with a big piece of machinery, and perhaps we would have to exert a lot of effort. We might get very exhausted in the process. It would work eventually. Or else we could take that hard block of ice out into the backyard, and we could let the warmth of the sun melt the hard ice and return it to its original substance of water. So just like ice melts naturally in the warmth of the sun, so your more difficult aspects of the personality, the more frightened, pernicious aspects of your ego, will melt more naturally, will dissolve more naturally when they're greeted by unconditional love. And so this is the perspective on the awakening that I give that's really a very feminine approach to non-dual realization. It holds that your ego really is a giant call for love and understanding, and that contrary to popular opinion, you don't need the stick what's needed is deep insight, truth-telling, compassionate, loving honesty, forgiveness, and deep willingness to look at everything and see the truth of everything. And so as we open without defense and we allow the perspective of love to greet us, things can really take off in our process. And we can start to be receptive to the deeper dimensions of grace. So grace really has 4 primary aspects to it, and I'll be talking about this in more detail on our virtual gathering that we'll be holding together through the Shift Network. I look forward to sharing so much with you on our call, and I will also be responding to your questions and entering into dialogue together, which I always enjoy so much. So we'll have a chance to explore what landing in grace really means for us all and for our world together. I hope you can join me.